Cleveland Browns. They're not looking too bad. 5-2. They just barely got a win over Cincinnati yesterday. And I'm gonna talk about their success this year. So let's first talk about their defense. So while though their passing defense isn't that great, they've allowed around 238.7 yards per game, which is in the bottom half of the league. Their rushing defense is really good, and they've only allowed 92.1 yards per game, which is sixth best or fifth best in the league. When you talk about this team's defense, you got to talk about how they are pretty good at getting takeaways. They lead the league in takeaways with 14 takeaways through 7 games. It's pretty split from where they get their takeaways. They have around 7 interceptions and 4 fumbles. And who's getting those fumbles, who's getting those interceptions? It's a bunch of guys. After B.J. Goodson, who has 2 interceptions on the year, a bunch of guys are just getting interceptions for them. And same kind of for fumbles. You got Myles Garrett. He's playing elite at the defensive end position. 4 forced fumbles through 7 games. And he also has 9 sacks to go with it, which he leads the defense with. So, yeah, they have a pretty elite defense when it comes to getting takeaways. I want to talk a little bit about this offense for a little bit. Now, before you talk about the offense, you got to state the obvious. Odell Beckham Jr., he's going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. So their offense going to have to adjust to that. But if you're being truly honest, his impact on this offense wasn't that great. He certainly wasn't playing up to expectations. I don't think that it's his fault necessarily, but when you have 2 number 1 wide receivers, they have Jarvis Landry as well. It's pretty hard for you to get your numbers up when you do have 2 number 1 capable wide receivers on your team. So that's why his numbers haven't been great or haven't been up to his standards through his 1.5 seasons with the Browns. And there also is the fact that he was kind of injured last year, and now he's obviously injured now, so he's not going to play the rest of the season. But I would also say that it's because there is also what I stated before, which is like there's just 2 capable number wide receivers on this wide receiver depth chart. So that's why the numbers aren't really up there for Odell. But Baker Mayfield's performance. Now he's doing pretty good. Just getting by for this team, providing what he needs to be able to from a franchise quarterback perspective. He's completed 125 of his 198 passes, which is 63%. He's thrown for 1,392 yards for an average of 7 yards per play, or 7 yards per catch. And he's averaging 204 yards per game. And he has 15 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Before I talk about whether this team can make the playoffs or not, the 2 games that they've lost, they've got destroyed in. They lost like 38-7 against the Steelers and 36-6 against the Ravens. And both those were divisional opponents, so maybe that does come back to bite them when it comes to winning the division, because they're only half a game out right now of the division. But yeah, it really doesn't look like the Ravens and Steelers are going to lose a lot of games this year. So maybe those 2 games come back to bite them. We're not saying the Steelers are going to go undefeated, but I mean they're probably going to have 11-12 win the season. And the Ravens, same. They only have 1 loss through 6 games. So I guess that's a weird transition, but I would say that it's going to be pretty hard for them to win the division, but I could definitely see them winning the wild card. Right now, they are the 6th team in the AFC, which would make them eligible for the playoffs. But again, this is, you got like 10 weeks left to go, and around like 9 games each for each team, pending, all of them get played this year. But yeah, that's really it. This video is a little bit shorter. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.